What is up, y'all? I'm Benjamminoutdoors, and this is my channel.
So it's the next morning after we got back from Reese's, and we got the S1000 in here, and we're looking it over, and we actually noticed something that's a little off. So when you come back here to the rear, the wheel looks a little cockeyed when you line up with the rest of the bike. And obviously if the rim was solely bent, you would see it kind of wobble back, kind of get back to normal, but it stays consistently off. Now it wobbles a little bit, but it's consistently staying at this angle when the bike's at this angle. So it's a little like cockeyed. So we're thinking the swing arm might be damaged, possibly. So we gotta look into that. But first order of business is probably going to be draining the oil, doing an oil change, stripping all the fairings off because they're not all the way on there, kind of just inspecting everything, probably getting all the damaged pieces completely off, like the slider. Got to order a new rear set. I don't think I'm gonna try to repair that. It's just not really worth it. Another thing we might do today is try to get the broken studs out of here. This is where the kickstand is. So I got my welder over there. Probably just weld something to the studs and yank them out. So try to get all that kind of stuff done today. I'd love to hear it crank up today for sure though. That would be nice.
Oh yeah, we're gonna crank it up. It's gonna crank.
Even if we have to tear the motor down?
Yeah, guaranteed.
Okay, so you heard it. We're gonna tear the motor down if we got to today. That's it. We're gonna put it back together. It's gonna be running no matter what.
Actually, I think it is the subframe on this thing. If you look back here, you can see this bar is like it's pushed more this way. This bar is pushed farther this way than this bar. And if you look at the wheel and the gas tank and the triple, that lines up. So I think it is the subframe that is pushed over.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at last night, and I couldn't figure out which one it was. Because that's typically what mostly bends, is the subframe.
The swing arm bending is very rare.
Yeah, for sure. So, and I've actually repaired, like I said, on that 600, I've repaired by using a ratchet strap.
Right.
And so if I can repair it without having to buy a new one, depending on how much it is, I guess. The only problem is this actually has a painted coating, so I wouldn't want to apply too much heat to that. But I might be able to bend it back. I don't know. But it's hard. It is hard to tell lining everything up because the lock is offset and the main cluster is offset. So it's like nothing is symmetrical up here. Yeah. So it's kind of hard to try to get a good line of sight of what's straight and what's not. But if it's the subframe, that's probably the best thing to be bent. Absolutely. For sure. The least structural thing on the bike. Thinnest metal overall. But let's get into this. Now she actually looks like a wrecked bike. Damaged tank. No cosmetics on it at all. Fairings actually look pretty good too still. It don't look like it got scratched or anything. A little dirty obviously, but. Where's the drain plug? Whoa, that's really low.
Oh wow, that is really low.
But definitely don't want to damage my oil pan. Oof.
Pretty dark.
Dark. Ooh. Oh, yikes.
What?
I'm pretty sure that was on there. A bunch of crap in there.
Bunch of metal shavings.
Yeah. You can kind of see there's some type of
milkiness in it.
Or gray metal. Yikes. I may have bought a piece of junk for Reese. You may have scammed me.
He scammed you.
Who knows? It's hustling me.
He said it runs though.
Well, it might run, but it might not run for long. So, we'll see if it blows up within the first couple hours of riding it.
What do you think's next?
Fill her up. Well, no, take that back. Oil filter. That oil's rough. Yeah, man. Who has an S1000 doesn't change their oil regularly? Oh, it's already lubed. Nice. That's when you know it's a nice filter. It's pre-lubed.
Yep, it spins right on.
This oil change was courtesy of Reese from Built From the Bottom. He bought a 2018 S1000 last night. The dude gave him all this, and it happens to work with mine too. So I bought this thing from him yesterday. So he decided to give it to me. And apparently, I was told it was green oil. So
yes.
Bougie, fancy top. Whoa, it's got a fancy top on it.
Lime green, baby. Looks yellowish from this side.
It looks like they just put a little bit of a dye in it. So CJ pulled the fuse box cover off and we see a jumper in there. And of course on the top it shows it's a 10 amp. So I got some, so we're gonna pull the jumper out and throw in a 10. Hopefully there's not an electrical issue, because the only thing I can think of why they did that was it kept on popping, and so they put a jumper in there, or they for some reason didn't have one and they put that in there. But hopefully it was the latter.
Yeah, hopefully.
But we're gonna probably pull the battery off the GSX-R 1000, throw in this, and see if it'll illuminate and hopefully crank up. We might actually swap the fuel out first though, because this fuel is really old, yeah, so hate to send some really old fuel through this fuel system. It's tight. Oh, nice. That's a really nice
Quick release.
quick release. And those aren't as nice.
Usually I twist them and then they come off easier.
Funky looking tank. I don't care about this paint job, so how about we just empty it out the top here. So it's not much different than the other sport bikes. Some of the connections are different. These metal clips, like locking clips, are definitely different for sure than the other Japanese sport bikes. Gonna have to repair this right here. Looks like the tank dented it. I could plastic weld that though, or epoxy it.
Did it go through?
It looks like it went through, possibly. Yeah, it looks like there's a tiny crack in there, or a tiny little hole. The last little bit out. So the tank is empty, or 99.9% empty. But before we put it on, it'd be great to look at everything, make sure everything looks like it's hooked up properly. Of course, I've never worked on a BMW, so I'm not too familiar with everything, but you know, obviously if something's unplugged, then that could be an issue. So probably gonna put the tank right back on, go to the fuel station, get some 93, fill her up. Like,
You turn it into a German.
yeah, freaking German, European. Oh, let me get on my motorbike and go to the fuel station, get some petrol. Freaking weirdo. Apologize, guys. I promise I'm still a Southern American male. Plug it back in. Pump.
Diesel, right?
Yeah, diesel fuel in it. Hey, a diesel S1000, that'd be pretty wild.
Bet no one's done that before.
I bet. Yeah, there'd be a lot of converting to try to convert that motor over to diesel. Probably would have to turbo it. S1000 turbo diesel.
Turbo diesel.
We gotta unload that when we get back. She's sleeping. Honking. Better not be honking at me.
Blow coal in your face.
Bro, you're not supposed to fill up cans in the back of your truck. It's day one can usage.
We just got back from the petrol station.
Oh bloody, it's so expensive nowadays. It's like 15 pounds a litre.
Quid.
Oh, I don't know what we use over here.
Pounds and quid are the same thing.
Oh, bloody. to drive my turbo diesel back to my abode.
My shack.
Just letting you know, we're not making fun of y'all Europeans.
Actually, kind of envious of the way they talk.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, you're insulting somebody, but it's like, you know, in a positive manner because you're jealous of them, kind of thing. Put some 93 in this puppy. Probably good. Just a hair of seafoam to counteract any type of contaminants in there, or maybe in the fuel system.
Negative to positive, positive to negative.
Oh yeah. It's the only way to do it.
Just wanted to make sure we were on the same page.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. Ooh. Got a service light, I guess? Or, oh, there we go.
Those are normal when you start out.
Okay, so info, setup. Where's the mileage? It's got 38 miles on it. I'm just kidding. Oh, ooh. Holy crap.
58,342 miles.
That's more than he said. Wow, dang. 58K.
Yikes.
And salvage title. I probably will not be reselling this. It probably will be my daily for a while now. I don't know how much value this thing will have, but it's a cool build though. So it'll be a whole lot of fun to build this thing out to exactly what I want and rip it around the street, especially if I keep the gold fairings. It's pretty neat. This adjuster goes on the back side of this thing, so when I take it apart, just a mental note. But first off, we got to replace this before we can even start it because this is obviously destroyed, so we can't start it without the starter button, obviously. Makes sense. So, gonna pull these out, and we're gonna have to disassemble all of this to be able to get to everything. And these unhook. So we got extra throttle cables if anything ever happens in the future. Plug right there. That. Guess we got a hard freight. Oh well. These people park like a douche. We got it. I think we got it.
So Benjamin and I had to go to the store to grab a small enough T-bit, a T6, 7, or 8, we're not sure yet, to access a little tiny screw on the back of this piece so that we can connect to the connector for the start button. Gonna try a T7, a little loose. I think it's a T8. Beautiful, it's a T8. This is what we needed that little tool for, a T8, worked perfectly. That was able to reach inside of that and actually get that apart. So we got this now. Not gonna put it on yet. I'm just going to see if we can crank it up. Just slide it on. I think push this puppy in there. We get the fuel pump to prime and start her up. First crunk it up though, it sounded really loud down in the bottom end. So, and all those shavings kind of scared me. So I guess we'll run it for a little bit when we get it outside. Make sure the coolant, all levels good. You didn't like that initial startup?
The bottom end sounded loud.
You could hear it?
It sounded real loud. So that's
it quieted down after.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
There's the oil level pretty vividly there.
It cranks up, runs, and it sounds like all 4 cylinders are firing, so that's good news. No fuel issues. So we just got to figure out the gauge cluster. So Reese put on a new gauge cluster, the casing to the gauge cluster, but the RPM gauge or the dial or whatever, it's not working. So I wonder if something happened there. So I got to look at that, try to maybe pull that back apart and inspect that and see if everything else works on the gauge. I'd imagine that should work too.
Do the modes work? If you click the mode button?
Race, slick,
rain, sport. What's the difference between slick and rain? If it's raining, it's slick. There's also a noise inside, so we're taking it apart.
It's all on a T10. These T10s.
So there's a few things wrong with this. So currently the RPM dial or whatever, it's really bound up. Like it is scraping, and so it's not, something's not right there. Obviously there's a cut in the face around the 16, which sucks, but I'm gonna try to clean this thing off too. This is a little dirty, but I don't know. Hopefully we can get this thing to work properly. So this thing is binding up, and so I'm gonna take the faceplate off and this, so you should just be able to pry up on this little arm a little bit and it should pop up. You just be careful because these things are super sensitive, fragile. Pull it up and rotate it and pop it off. Nice. Actually might be a scratch, possibly, in the screen. You put the arm back on and see if it'll spin. All this stuff is so fragile.
Underneath this screen dash. Pull up the glass.
It's got to pry up from both sides.
It's real gentle on that plastic screen. Nice. Oh dang, yeah, you gotta be real careful with that, dude. I think
that holds it. It's got some slop to it, see? Oh, that's where it's broken.
the motor.
Is the motor.
Well, that's a good sign.
But the real question is, can you even get a replacement for that? So it looks like these little plastic tabs in here hold the motor into the motherboard. So you should be able to just kind of squeeze all those and push that out.
Right through. Boom.
There's the whole motor right there.
You have to be able to get a replacement part if it pops
I hope
out
so.
like that. If it pops out that easy, for sure replace
Watch it be like $300 for this piece from BMW. I mean, this thing's not crazy. Let's break it apart.
Oh, well, if we're ever going to try to fix it.
No, ain't no fixing this bad boy.
Well, now I can't fix it.
Yeah, well, no.
I was going to fix it for you.
That's unfortunate. So we're going to try to bend this back. He said that's what he does, so.
It works.
You know, we'll see. If it breaks off, it's his fault. So, if not, we'll do a different method. But.
The right way or the wrong way?
Lefty tighty if it's reverse.
Yeah, it is. You're right.
It's got a lot of corrosion on it.
Yeah. Or is that just the white Loctite? Nature's
Never seen a...
Nature's Loctite.
So we need a new bolt for the starter switch. So we're about to take the dual sport and the 600 out. Go to the Crowder Bros, Ace Hardware. So we got a few different options. A few different lengths.
This is the broken one.
So it's a little bit smaller in diameter, but the M4s, bumping up to the M4s are way too big. So this should work though.
All right, we are assembling the throttle. Is it beautiful? Look at how flush that is. Oh my gosh. So we removed the battery from the bike.
And we're about to try to get the broken bolts for the kickstand out because, well, they snapped off, both of them, inside the frame. And the weird thing is on this bike, the kickstand bolts from the backside. So here is the bottom of one of the bolts. So it bolts in from the backside. So it's a little more difficult to try to weld some washers and nuts to these. But we should be able to do it no problem. But like most of the Japanese bikes I got in here, they all bolt from the front. So it's a little inconvenient, but it is what it is. It's, you know, freaking Germans. So today we're actually going to use the YESWELDER. So I've actually been using this pretty hardcore recently, and I love it. Mainly the MIG function because I don't have a MIG welder with my Everlast. This thing has got a plasma cutter. It's got MIG, TIG, and stick. I love it. They sent this to me a while ago, and I've been using it a lot. I've been even using it at my main job, working on cars and stuff. So it's been performing great. Spilled a little bit of carb cleaner on it. Kind of messed up the finish, but going to probably set it. Probably 160 should be fine. We're only welding some washers and nuts to it, but it's already set up for MIG, 75-25, and turn the gas on. And of course, you gotta make sure down here, it tells you right here which positive and negative that you need to put the ground clamp to. So down here it's on negative. Up there in that picture it's good. So, and ignore my lack of PPE. Let's let that cool off and let's see if we can get that bolt out. So we got the nut welded to it. So let's see if we can get that thing out. Just gonna take a wrench and rock it back and forth.
She turning?
Oh, yeah, she's turning. Tell you what, it's nice to have a MIG. I haven't been able to do this type of extraction with my TIG, so this is really nice. There we go. Now time for the next one. This one's gonna be a little bit more tricky because it's flush with the aluminum. Let's see if we can do it without messing up the aluminum.
She spinning?
Yeah.
Nice. Beautiful.
So, I actually got the bolts out that broke inside the frame right there. The threads look pretty good, so all I gotta do is find some bolts that are gonna work with this kickstand. So I'm gonna come over here to my box of hardware that I've acquired over the years. Most of this is hardware that was like maybe extra when I purchased a bike, or I took off a bike because I didn't need, or I parted a bike out and I got all these extra bolts. And, you know, it's really nice to have because sometimes it's random hardware. I mean, sometimes it's like axle spacers, stuff like that. Just a bunch of random stuff. Just, you know, this was an engine mount. This was actually damaged, but you get the point. So I'm gonna actually look in here for a bolt that looks maybe like 1.5 inches, something like that. Maybe 2 inches. Like these two bolts look like they would work. Now, obviously, I actually put them on top, but I found these earlier and they look like they might work. So you stick this through and it sticks out a good bit. Hopefully it doesn't screw in too much. That's the real question. All right, I'm gonna try to put this thing on. Hopefully it works. Hopefully these bolts are not too long. That bolt's a tad too long. So I was digging around and actually found 2 bolts that were going to work well. They're actually Allen head and not hex head, which I prefer, but the length is right and the thread is right. So let's go ahead and put some blue Loctite on them and then we'll throw them in there because I don't want these things coming out. It would suck to get to your destination and not be able to put your kickstand down because it's not there.
down pretty good. Now I can take it off this stand. So that is actually be it for working on the S1000 with CJ. Unfortunately, we didn't get to where we wanted to, which was riding it. It was just missing some parts like brake pads and the brake caliber bolts. So if you can't stop it, it's probably not safe to ride. Anyway, he was a big help. It was fun. But before he heads back to Wisconsin in a few hours, we're going to go for one last ride on his big bikes. It should be pretty fun, and spoiler alert, something happens. Also, my GoPro died, so that's a whole other issue. I got to figure out, I don't know if it's my batteries, I don't know what, but I've been having a lot of issues with my Hero 8. So I need to either get a new camera or try to figure out what's wrong with my current one. But anyway, let's jump to the last ride with CJ.
So he just took off. I ran out of fuel in the ZX-10. We were in the middle of nowhere on 471 doing some hard pulls at late at night when there was nobody on the road. And of course, around like 8 or 9,000, 10,000 RPMs, it was literally just cutting out all the power. So I guess fuel wasn't getting to the cylinders, and that's when I saw the fuel light. So he's going to get a gas can and bring it back. There he comes, saving the day. Man, what an adventure.
What an adventure.
Both the cameras, his camera got full and my camera died. But that's hilarious.
Gotta do what you gotta
I have to do some insane pulls. Bro, my helmet was like freaking shaking like a... It's honestly not safe for me to freaking race with this helmet on.
Right. We weren't racing, what are you talking about?
Okay, going...
We were enjoying the bikes.
Going fairly quickly on the bikes. But at the same time. Those are coyotes.
Oh, wow. I was like, is that a siren? That sounds like...
Yeah, it sounded like a siren for a second.
This is the right can, right?
It looks like it.
I hope so. My fuel light just came on as I got here.
Well, we'll go fill up. Thankfully we didn't get stranded, you know, like
All the way back here.
30 miles out. Because we drove a good 10, 15 miles up that way, then the bogging started to happen. So I told him to whip it around, and we finally got here, which intersects 98 and 471. We'll be able to make it to the gas station and go home.
But stuff like this keeps my adrenaline pumping, and I'll be up all night.
Oh yeah. We're about to load up the bikes before he heads back. Sad to see him go. Won't see anything nice like this until he comes back. He's loading up. About to head back to good old Great White North.
So that is actually gonna be it for this video. Hopefully next video we can get the S1000 rideable, which would be awesome. And I hope y'all enjoyed the collaboration between me and CJ. It was fun hanging out, working on the bikes. Hopefully we'll be taking a trip together soon out west. Maybe, maybe not, we'll see, but it should be a lot of fun. Until next time, catch you on the flip side.